Good afternoon. Thank you all for joining today's session on optimizing your truck stock this fall. We appreciate you joining our Resideo customer webinar today. My name is Jamie Quanrud, and I am part of the Resideo sales training team. And on behalf of all of us, I'd like to welcome you to our product overview session today. Before we get started with our presentation, I'm going to cover just a few administrative items. Please join us on Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, where we give you the opportunity to learn about our products. If you'd like a schedule of our upcoming webinars that are on a variety of topics, please visit resideo.com/webinars for additional information. And make sure to navigate to the tabs named either HVAC or plumbing to find more information on these webinars. Our next training will be on Tuesday, September 15th, and we will be discussing the universal parts strategy. So please be sure to register and join us for that training in 2 weeks. Additionally, we are recording each of these training sessions, and you can find these recorded sessions on the same website on your screen underneath the webinar recordings tab to reference at a later time. And then for those contractors who are joining us for today's live session and you are interested in earning one NATE continuing education credit, there are just a few things to note. If you provided your NATE ID on your registration form, we are going to submit that information to NATE for your attendance of today's live session, and we won't need any additional information from you at this time. However, if you did not provide us with your NATE ID on that registration form for this webinar and you'd like to receive credit for attending this live session, we do ask that you email your first name, your last name, your NATE ID, and send that information to homes.university@resideo.com within 1 week from today. We will then submit this information to NATE on your behalf 1 week following the close of today's session. Any requests that are sent outside of 1 week from the live training session cannot be processed. And as a reminder, we can only submit requests for NATE credits when you attend the live webinar session. And we are unable to process any requests if you are watching a recorded version of this session. If you'd like more information about the NATE program, please visit their website at www.natex.org. And then one quick note to all of our attendees today before we begin our presentation. All of our attendees are muted. However, if at any point you do have a question during our presentation that you'd like to ask, please use the Q&A feature that is found in your Zoom webinar controls at the bottom of your screen. We are reserving the last few minutes of our time today to answer any questions. So as we progress through our product overview session today, please be sure to ask any questions in that Q&A feature so that they can be addressed at the end of today's session. For today's session, we have Vinny Ventura, who is part of the Venco sales team, and Sean Sullivan, who is a Resideo contractor development specialist in the Pennsylvania market, joining us today. These gentlemen are going to be alternating the presentation of our product information to all of you today. So with that being said, take it away, gentlemen.
Thank you, Jamie. So Resideo has a full range of products to help support your replacement parts needs and create opportunities for extra revenue and profit generation by way of upselling in your service department. Resideo's water and residential thermal solutions and combustion solutions complement each other for servicing homes on a single visit. And the goal really here is how stocking both water and combustion products on your trucks are keys to success, and that goes for all year long. So the question, why carry key truck stock items? And the reality is time is money. So if we have the right part on our truck, we can get the job done. We can complete that job more quickly, and we can add more jobs to our daily service tickets. So universal products reduces the amount of time it takes to get a customer back up and running, which increases not only your profitability, but also the customer satisfaction. So you're fixing the product or the problem while you're on site. No need to run out to your nearest supply house or order the exact replacement product when you have something universal on your truck to get that heating or cooling back up and running. And the main takeaway here, if you look at the bottom left of the screen, these universal products, if you have the right ones on the truck, it's really important because having those replaces a lot more different SKUs than if you had like-for-like replacements. And it also saves you time from running out and picking up or ordering that and waiting a day or so to get the right product that is like-for-like. So if you look at, adding one extra service call a day, let's say that you're on average are billing $300 per service call. Adding one per day will increase your top line by $300 for that day. On a weekly basis, we're looking at $1,500. Monthly would be $6,000, and on a year, once you compile all that, it's about $72,000. Over the course of a year, if you can get one extra service call in a day. Results aren't guaranteed, but this is a good metric to look at when you're looking at being profitable and having the right parts, fitting that extra call in, and getting one extra pleased customer per day.
Okay, so let's jump right into the universal products, and we're going to start with one of the most powerful ones that we have is our S8610U universal gas control. The beauty of this control, first of all, it's been around for a long, long time. So a lot of people are very familiar with this style of control. The great thing about this control is the current version of this control replaces over 425 other controls, whether they be Honeywell Home or competitive models. So whether it's a single rod or dual rod application, it's the same control. Whether you have natural or LP gas like propane, it's the same control. It's a great control to have on your truck, and it's one that every service truck should not have only one, but several, because it's such a powerful control. A lot of enhanced features. It has diagnostics. It has flame readout right on the board. It has a fantastic set of LED codes with the key right on the label. Some other features on this control, and a lot of these features were designed into the control through extensive voice of the customer interviews and just having contractors tell us what they would like to see in a universal control. So one of the big things is that you have direct flame current readout right on the control. You have points there that you can put your microammeter there, and you can see what your flame readout is. Another nice thing, like I said a little bit earlier, is there's a set of there's an LED on there that shows you not only this device status, what actually it's in, what mode it's in, or what point it's in the ignition process. It also gives you the most common codes, and it tells you what the codes are and what you need to do according to the code to resolve the issue. The nice thing about this control is even the box is a tool. So on the box itself, and also in more detail inside the box in the paperwork, is a cross-reference. So on the box is a basic cross-reference that gives you an idea of how many different products this one control replaces, all right? But in the paperwork itself is an extensive list of controls that it replaces. Another nice thing that we have is we have a parts finder tool, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, that you would put in your OEM gas control that you're looking to replace, and it'll always refer to the S8610U, but it's always nice to make sure that what you're replacing is covered by the S8610U. So another very important piece of the universal stocking inventory that you should have on your trucks is our VR8345M gas valve. Universal gas valve, one gas valve on your truck, covers both 1/2" and 3/4 installations. It comes with the appropriate fittings, so you can use it on 1/2" or 3/4. It's very compact in size, but it is actually fits. It replaces a lot of existing valves without having to do any repiping. One of the key features of this gas valve is what the VR stands for. VR stands for valve redundancy. And what that means is that it doesn't have one valve that opens and closes on a call. It's actually two valves. It's a dual valve system, so it's very, very safe. It's one of the safest gas valves you can buy in the market. Whether you have a standard opening, a slow opening, or two-stage opening application, we have the universal gas valve for your needs. So you always have the right valve for the job as long as you have these on your truck. Now let's take that gas valve and let's take the 8610U controller, put it all in one box, and let's add a pilot, a harness, and a cable, everything that you would need for a retrofit from a standing pilot system to an intermittent ignition system, which brings a piece of equipment up to code. Nice thing about this is it's all in one little box, everything you need to take any standing pilot system and bring it up to an intermittent ignition system, which is safer and also saves on gas. And the cool thing about this box is, let's say you're on a job and you need an S8610U control and you don't have one, you could always grab one out of your Y8610U Y pack and put it on the job, and then just go back to the supply house or back to your stocking room, which you should have some extras in your stock room back at your shop, and just replace it back into truck stock. And this works both for both natural and LP gas. Another universal module that we have is for hot surface ignition. And this one is a beast. This one module, the S8910U 3000 module, covers over 900 competitive models. One on your truck. Practically everything you can come across, that one model will replace it, which is a fantastic thing. Also has LEDs for diagnostics as well. It has the micrometer ports to determine your flame current. Okay, and it uses dip switches depending on the configuration for the particular control that you're replacing.
Great information, Vinny. And to add on to that, I'd like to talk about our S9200U Universal Integrated Furnace Controller. So that's pictured before you on the right. That board is going to replace over 195 OEM and competitive model boards. Having that on your truck stock is great because it's a lot of units out there are single stage gas, hot surface ignition. This control is not only going to manage your calls for heat, which is going to include the smarts to do your ignition process, but also has IAQ operations. So there's high voltage terminals if you want to hook up electronic air cleaner or humidifier. It does monitor safety parameters, so your different limit switches and things. There's safeties built into here, and it shuts down your furnace when your call for heat is satisfied. So it'll manage your calls for heating. What it also does is manages your calls for cooling. So it will energize your cooling contactor based on a call for Y, which is your cooling signal. And it also turns on your circulating fan after your cool on delay. There are dip switches that you can select what your fan off delays will be. And this board comes with different wiring harnesses. So they're all lettered. They're labeled by letters, and in the installation manual, it'll tell you if you're replacing this OEM board, this is the harnesses you're going to use. So it's really plug and play. And also will shut down your air conditioning when your call for cooling is satisfied. So great truck stock item, gets you out of a lot of jams. It does have a replaceable fuse, which is that purple fuse there on the right, and all the terminals are labeled. And again, plenty of Molex connectors so you can choose which one is correct for your application. Another board that Resideo just came out with in the last year or two is the Universal Heat Pump Defrost board. This is really exciting because it replaces over 260 single-stage heat pump defrost controls. So if you are working on heat pumps, I suggest you put one or two of these on your truck. Reason being, it's a small square footprint. It's really easy to program. It's got 2 dual-digit LEDs, so you can program this device. It also has quiet mode, so when you transition to defrost, it's not as loud. And when you go into start looking at defrosts, there's a good bit of OEMs that just do timed defrost. So it might be going into defrost when you could actually be holding it off from doing so and doing it off of a demand basis. So you could actually upgrade from just a timed demand defrost board only into one that can do timed or demand. So that way we're running defrost less, potentially, and saving, you know, energy that way. But for troubleshooting, you can force this unit into defrost by holding in a button on the device. So which is great for your tune-up technicians or even your service techs. And again, all year long. So it's required to make your season. This is what's going to control whether you're in heating or cooling mode when you're looking at a heat pump unit. Moving on to hydronics, Resideo also offers circulators. They have a 5-year warranty, and that starts the date that they are installed. You can look here is a exploded view, so you can see internally that we have stainless steel bearing plates and a motor cap, so that we have corrosion resistance and extended durability. We also have an impeller that's engineered for quieter and more efficient operations. This is a wet rotor pump, so keep that in mind when installing it. The bearings are ceramic and they're larger. Ceramic shaft for higher corrosion resistance, longer life, quieter operation. But one of the main things I want to point out is on the left here. You can see the red flange on the bottom and top of that pump. That's 4-way flange. So you got more opportunity to install this, more options, makes it more universal. You can see that the electrical connections are on the front. So if you're stacking pumps close together, you just get a Phillips screwdriver out and take off the head. You're not working on the side of the pump. You have plenty of room for access. And then the black piece at the bottom, that's actually a threaded fitting. So you can thread in a Romex connector right into it and not worry to have to put the Romex connector a nut on. So it takes that place. Installation's super easy. And when you look at this next image, we have 3 different selections for speed. So you got 1, 2, and 3. That goes for our 3 different sizes of pumps. What's shown before you is our 1558, which is the smallest of the 3 we offer. Although we also go up to 2699 for the medium size and the 4344 for the largest. With that 3-speed selector, you get a lot of cross-reference, what I'll show you on the next slide, that this pump has 3 different pump curves on it, and the flow rates will be documented in an install manual. But true 3-speed versatility, twist to fit universal flanges, so it's really easy replacement. And the other thing I'd like to highlight, the flow check comes in the box, okay? So if you want to install it, you can. If you have an external flow check or don't want to have a check valve, you don't have to install it. On the manuals, we do give you an example what the pump curves look like with and without the flow check. So truly universal. And to further that point, if you look at this cross-reference, there's 3 different size pumps, and you can see all the manufacturers, the competitive ones that we are going to replace with that single unit. And again, 5-year warranty.
So we also have water heater controls, and essentially these are not just gas valves. It's a full control system for your hot water heaters, or gas hot water heaters. The nice thing about these is that they have algorithms built into them that allow them to be an anti-scalding to protect against exceeding any type of the designated set point that you put in it. It has a resettle emergency temperature cutoff, which is really nice. LEDs that let you know a status of what's going on with the system. As you can see, we have 3 different models there that which have some similarities, but the idea behind these 3 different models is that depending on which major brand you're replacing, we have a model that is going to be a direct replacement for the OEM control that comes off the water heater. So we look at this chart here, and the major manufacturers, which happen to be A.O. Smith, Bradford, and Rheem, all 3 of them are covered by these water heater controls. Whether you have all you have to know is either you have to have the OEM part number, which is marked on the gas valve that you're removing, on the gas control that you're removing. Or if you don't have that, we do have, you go by the insulation of the tank. Depending on the depth of the insulation, you can have a longer or shorter gas valve insert. Okay, like for like replacement. 3 valves, or I should say 3 valves, several valves, depending on what your preference for tank installation is. You can cover a multitude of OEM product out in the market. If you cover everything with all the valves that we have here, you cover over, the market replacement is massive, okay? So doesn't matter whether you have an A.O. Smith, a Bradford, or a Rheem, by having one of these gas valves on your truck, you're going to be able to replace existing OEM gas valves. Another cool product that we have is our GLOWFLYTH hot surface igniter. This is a second generation silicone nitride igniter, which makes it very, very durable. But what makes it different from competitive models is that it is a it gets hotter quicker, and it glows brighter, so it ignites more uniform with less, it's a very clean ignition process. One model replaces over 100 different igniters. It has a 3-year warranty from date of installation. That's how solid this thing is. And you know how everyone says, well, don't touch your igniter because you're going to break it. They're so delicate. That's the standard igniters that this one replaces. This thing is designed to take a lot of handling. I mean, obviously I wouldn't kick it across the floor, but it's a very, very strong product. It's designed to replace a tremendous amount of competitive products and OEMs. Comes in a single pack, which is the part number you see there, the Q3200U1004. But the cool thing, and the way I like to promote this product, is with the 6-pack. One, because the day that you have only one in the truck, you're going to need 2. So, but the cool thing about the 6-pack is on the back side of the box is a diagram that shows the most common igniters, OEM igniters out on the market. And then you would just take your igniter that you're pulling out that's broken, you match it up to the box, and then it tells you which set of brackets to use for that particular installation that you have. It's a fantastic thing, and it's a really durable igniter that lasts a long, long time. We also have universal pilot burners, and these things, when these things first came out, I thought, wow, they're industry changing, and I truly believe that. You have 4 models here. We have the 314U, the Q345U, the Q348U, and the Q33451U. 3 of them are intermittent. The 314U, the Q314U is a standing pilot. If you carry all 4 of those on your truck, I don't think there's going to be an application that you can't replace with one of these 4 models. The standing pilot model alone replaces approximately 35 or 40 models that you see out in the field. The other 3, depending on the type of hood that you have, whether it's a batwing or a standard target style, or whether you need an integral ignition lead, that's where you would pick which one of these would fit. Here's what makes them different and unique. Well, it's the flexibility of the installation. First of all, the hoods are adjustable. They come set out of the box as a center front hood, but by removing a set screw, you can actually lift up the hood and move it to the left or to the right, and then put the screw back in, and then adjust it as either a right facing or a left facing hood. The other nice thing about this is inside the box, you also get different orifices depending on what your installation requires, and you also get different break-off fittings, and you also get an offset bracket if you need to mount this in an offset position. There is a chart on the box that you would just take your existing valve, existing pilot you're replacing, you would match it up, and it tells you the position of the hood, which orifice to use, and whether or not you need the offset bracket or not. So it makes it real simple. And it's a nice full color display sheet as well, which makes it real nice. There's even a QR code on the box that gives you an installation video that you can take a look at, and it walks you through an installation process for one of these pilots. That's an excellent pilot.
So far, we've talked about controls for gas, heat pumps, and hydronics. And now we're going to move on and talk about our R7284U, which is a universal electronic oil primary. So this product here is for the oil market. It's a line voltage safety rated primary control, and it's going to be utilized for residential oil-fired burners used in either boilers, forced air furnaces, and water heaters. So this device can be either used in hydronic or forced air systems. You can see that it's got a digital display there, which is really nice. It does provide plain language to the installer and the service technician. It's used with a CAD cell flame sensor. It operates on an oil burner and optional oil valve. The beauty here at the CAD cell is when the unit's actually running, you can get the CAD cell resistance, the amount of ohms it's reading. You don't need to bring out a meter or disconnect any device to see what the resistance is. It'll tell you right on the display. Furthermore, it tells you diagnostics with the actionable information. So again, plain language, it'll tell you igniter spark detection, whether your CAD cell's resistance is high during the run, or if it needs adjustment and or cleaning, flame proven latent trial, low voltage alarms, and it also provides an error history. That's really nice for those nuisance calls that maybe they had a power spike or brief momentary power outage. It will let you know that documentation. If you get there and everything's running fine, but the customer's left without heat at a certain time, you can go back in the error log and see what exactly caused that. So the other thing is it's universal compatibility. So it replaces Beckett, Carlin, White Rogers, and all other prior residential oil primary controls that you could find on the universal replacement on the box, and furthermore in our installation manuals. You can use it as either an interrupted or an intermittent control. So you can have the device continue to spark while you're already proven flame, or be intermittent. One part number covers the full range of timing offerings. So what I mean by that, you can have 15, 30, and 45-second trial for ignitions. So what I would suggest, look at your truck stock now. Are you carrying one for each of those trial, ignition periods? And if so, we can consolidate that down and just carry this one device. And with the digital display, you can program in how long you want that trial for ignition to be. The other thing you can program in is your field adjustable valve on delay. So if you do have a solenoid valve on your oil inlet, you can program how long you want that shut before you want to try for ignition. Your trial for ignition lockout times, which we just talked about. And then we also have a blower off delay. So once I satisfy the heat, how long do I want to continue to run with that oil valve shut? Pump priming cycle is super important. If you ever had a customer or service someone that ran out of oil, you know that if that device tried to run without any oil, it's going to get air in the line, and that can be problematic to try to purge it out. We've included a pump priming cycle, so when you go for a trial for ignition, you press that up arrow and hold it in, and it's going to add timing up to, I believe, 9 minutes of pump priming. So it'll continuously run that pump to where you can bleed out any air until you get a full column of liquid or oil coming out, and get your customer back up and running. And we also have a limited recycle. So that is our R7284U control. Really easy to set up, and I highly recommend get your hands on one and get it on the truck.
While we're in talking about oil products for oil installations, let's talk about our L7224U oil AQUASTAT. It's another universal part designed to replace a multitude of OEMs, whether they be Resideo or Honeywell Homes OEM products or competitive models. The nice thing about this controller is that it's super easy to program. It's got an LED display, which you use to program your set points. You can use it to adjust your high and low limit differentials. Maybe if you only have a high limit, you can make it just a high limit. It's also used for troubleshooting. It has Envirocom built into it, so it can actually communicate to the oil primary as well. So you could actually get error codes from one device on the other. If you were looking at one particular device and there was an error in the system, you could actually see the error code on one device or the other. On this device, because it's just a digital display, it gives you an error code number that you would look up, and then you could see what your issue is. Super easy to install. It comes it's a very flexible installation, whether you are replacing a vertical or horizontal, or a flush mounted where you're running a remote to your system. It works on all applications. It comes with a standard lead, but you can purchase an extended long lead, I believe up to, don't quote me on this, but I believe it goes up to 48 inches. I could be wrong, but it's somewhere around there. It also has the ability to be outdoor reset enabled. Using our Aqua Reset system, which is compatible with this AQUASTAT, you can actually convert this into an AQUASTAT that will react to outdoor reset conditions, enabling fuel efficiency for the customer. By having outdoor reset, you could have a savings of up to 15% on your fuel bills, because it's going to react to how hot or cold it is outside, because it looks at your outdoor temperature, and then it'll run the burner according to the needs of the system.
The other thing that Resideo has to offer is contactors, transformers, and relays. The contactors end, we replace most competitive models. They're really compact and super easy to install. They meet the ARI 780 codes, and they're UL, CSA, and CUR standards that are met. They do have a baked finish for added durability. You can get them with a number of different poles. And we also have transformers. So great truck stock item. I'm sure you've ran into blown transformers. We have single and multiple input voltages, and with foot, conduit, and plate mounting options. So installation flexibility is truly there. And then we also offer relays. General purpose, heavy duty switching relays. They can be fully enclosed for line and low voltage relays for that rating. Electric heating relay for use in resistive electric heating appliances. So our relays that we do offer, we have single pole, single throw, double pole, double throw, a myriad of different relay options for all the needs. We also, on our potable side, so far we've talked about heating. Our potable side, we have mixing valves. Pictured before you is an AMX300 mixing valve. What that would do is thread right on top of a water heater. And you might ask yourself, why would we want a mixing valve on our water heater? And there's a number of reasons. One of them is we can increase the temperature of our tank. So if we're running between, right around 110 degrees, you can see that there's more Legionella growth, or potential for Legionella growth. As we start cooking that water higher in our tank, we can, deplete the growth of, or restrict the growth of Legionella, right? So what you want to do is the higher you go, the more Legionella, as you can see with the water temperature growth. At 140, it dies instantly. Between 122 and 131 degrees, it can survive, but does not multiply. That range of 95 to 115, 115, I see a lot of water heaters set at, and that's ideal for rapid growth range of Legionella. So higher the better. I can't survive. However, if we set our water heaters to 140 degrees, that would scald someone, right? So what we want to do is we can set it that high, but we need a mixing valve to mix it back down to where it delivers maybe anywhere, 110, 115, maybe 120, depending on what you set it to, what your customer wants out to the facility. So prevention, experts recommend setting your water heater above 140 degrees to minimize growth of Legionella. So one thing the mixing valves allows you to do is set your water heater's AQUASTAT higher than normal and still provide protection to the home. The other thing it does is increases your usable hot water, your capacity. So a few years back, we had some government regulations to where the water heaters were coming 2 inches wider and 2 inches taller because we had added insulation. So you pulled out a 50-gallon hot water heater and you couldn't put that 50-gallon back in, or maybe you pulled out a 40-gallon and it's gotten too tall, it can't get in the closet anymore. So now if you put a mixing valve on it, this is just one example, and this is an Excel spreadsheet snapshot that the gray numbers and boxes up there are your inputs. So let's say we had a 40-gallon, it failed, we can't get a new 40-gallon to go in because the installation is too big. We could put in a 30-gallon. Let's say we set the tank to 145 degrees. Our incoming water from the city or street is 53, and we're going to set the output of the mixing valve to 120. So what we'll actually get out of that 30-gallon is 41.2 gallons of hot water. And that's because we're injecting cold water, which is about 27%, mixed with our 73% of hot water, and we're increasing our capacity by 11.2 gallons. And that's just one example. This does go for 50 gallons and maybe even larger. We do have a couple different options. We have an 8-inch spread as well as an 11-inch spread on the mixing valve. But what it also does is prevent scalding, or helps prevent scalding. So if you look at, adults versus children, 0 to 5 years old, their skin is thinner than adults, so they will actually get scalded a lot quicker. And if you look at the temperature rating on the bottom of this chart, you have 100 degrees. That's the safest water temperature for bathing. When we increase that to 120, if you're an adult and you're exposed to that for 10 minutes, you'll be scalded. And as we go up by 5 degrees to 125, that goes down to 3 minutes. But if you look to the right, it's only 2 minutes for a child, and that's because their skin is thinner. So we are going to have a thermostatic mixing valve, which can prevent scalding. 70% of burn victims needing ER attention, that is caused by water. So again, you can increase capacity of the water heater, minimize Legionella growth, and scald-proof the facility by having a mixing valve. Here's an example of what it looks like installed on top of a water heater. It is for point of source hot water heater applications. There's an 8-inch spread shown there, but if you have a larger tank and you need to go to 11-inch, we do offer that too. It's Teflon coated, which is really nice for any buildup that you might have over time. This is Teflon, so it coated inside. It will extend the life of this device. Nickel plated and low lead, brass and stainless steel, and the kit eliminates any need for extra parts. So brand new heater installation, you can really get this installed within a matter of minutes and add a lot of value to your customers. How it works. So you've got on the left side, that's where your hot goes in, and it gets mixed coming out of the top there where you see the blue arrow coming up. On the right side, ports are cold. There's a jumper bar between with flare fittings is where the mix is the cold water is gonna come from the right, go into the left, mix with the hot from the tank and go up to the facility. And we've got ports. So on the right, we've got a 1/4-inch cold water port. You can utilize that to go to an ice maker or humidifier, maybe a refrigerator for cold water coming out of your fridge. On the left, we've got a pre-mix hot port. So if you've got 140 degrees coming out of your tank, you can take that right to a dishwasher. And then we have a recirculation port up on the top on the left side there. So what that would be used for is if you have a recirc loop, you could pipe it right into there so you can have some on-demand hot water throughout your home. The set point knob right there with the gray knob is where you would make your adjustments. It does come with the thermo strip in the box, so you know exactly where you're setting the mixing valve to. We also have other mixing valves. Our AM1 provides more sweat connections, but it's great for like an indirect hot water heater. We have that available in multiple ways. We now have ProPress, sweat, thread, PEX, you name it. We have an AMX, which is in the bottom middle there. That's really good because device mixing valve because it can get a lot of flow through it. So if you're working on a higher end home, maybe large capacity or it's light commercial, that mixing valve there can handle a lot higher flow ratings. And then we have the AMX300, which only requires up to 2 sweat connections to get installed. And that's shown on the top right in the mixing valve we previously discussed.
Staying with the potable, let's talk about pressure reducing valves for a whole house. The really nice thing about this pressure reducing valve, first of all, why do we use a pressure reducing valve? Is because we need to regulate the amount of pressure coming into our home so that we don't damage fittings and we don't have water that's coming out of our showers where it feels like needles hitting you. So we set the correct amount of pressure that feels good and that's sufficient to maintain pressure throughout the entire home. What makes this PRV differently? Well, first of all, we call it a dial set PRV. That right there is a really interesting thing that you don't see on other PRVs. That dial on the top has a number, and that number tells you very precisely the amount of pressure that you're setting it to, and then you put a little cap on it, and it's done. The nice thing about this is you don't need a gauge on this to check your pressure. If you want to, you can. You can see in the middle of the valve, there's a port there where you can actually put a gauge on if you like, but it's so accurate that gauge is not necessary to set your pressure. A couple other nice things about this is it's a cartridge system, so it's cleanable and rebuildable. So it's easily cleanable and rebuildable if you need to. If you have hard water situations with a lot of minerals, it can be the cartridge can be replaced. Okay. Comes with different types of fittings, which I'll show you in the next slide. It has a built-in strainer, which also can be cleaned or replaced, and it actually meets all approvals. And one of the other nice thing about this valve is its physical size. It is a lot smaller than a lot of the competitive models, which means if you have a tight work area, it'll fit in a lot of places where you may have trouble fitting a competitive valve. So it comes in a variety of sizes and unions. So you can get it as a body only up to from 1/2 inch up to 1 inch. You can get it either a single union NPT or sweat, or a double union NPT or sweat, and those sizes go from a 1/2 inch all the way to 2 inches, depending on what your needs are. So it's a very versatile valve, small, a multitude of different ways that you can purchase it. It's designed to last a long time in the installation. It's also upgradable. So you can actually purchase a filter kit that can go on the bottom. You remove the bottom cap, you would put the filter kit there, and now it has a filter that will catch sediment before it gets into your system, especially important if you have a tankless water heater. So if you have a tankless water heater, most manufacturers actually demand that you have some type of filtration before the water gets into the heat exchanger, because it could damage the heat exchanger. So here's an easy upgrade, or it can be purchased already put together as an FK06 kit. So the DSO6 is your dial set by itself, and then the FK06 is your dial set with filter. Or you can just purchase the filter kit itself, and it's got a flush on the bottom, which makes it easy to clean the filter if you want. But it's also removable and completely washable as well. We also have our water leak and freeze detector. This is a great piece. It's designed to do multiple things. Number one, it detects water. It'll detect water where water shouldn't be. So you can put it under your sink. You can put it by your washing machine. You can put it by your water heater or your boiler if you have a boiler, your sump pump. So it's a battery operated wireless device that connects to your home Wi-Fi. It comes with a 4-foot lead. The entire 4 feet of lead is a sensor. So any part of that sensor senses water, it'll trigger an alarm both online to your smart device, and it triggers an alarm. It doesn't send you an email. It actually triggers an alarm in your app, and it lets you know that you have a problem because you have water on your floor. You need to know about it before it's an unmanageable thing. You can manage when you have, an 1/8 of an inch of water on the floor versus 6 inches. Right there, you've already lost when there's 6 inches on the floor. In any event, you can mount it on the wall and use the lead. And by the way, you can get extensions on the lead. You can go up to 400 feet if you wanted to. So you can do a perimeter around a basement with one leak detector. But better than that, I like to put detectors in different parts of the house depending on what the needs are. As you can see here, there's several different applications. So how does it work? Well, it has 3 batteries. You would take the bottom cover off, which is a watertight cover. You take it off, put your batteries inside, and if you see there's 2 sensors on the bottom, so you can place it right on a counter, in a cabinet. You can place it on the floor. If you're going to be placing places where people walk, my suggestion is you mount it on the wall through the mounting keyhole, and then you use the lead that's provided in the box, and you can put it around the water heater, etc. You sync it to your Wi-Fi. It takes about 5 minutes or less, and it'll automatically populate. And the nice thing about this is that whether or not you have the app open, as long as your phone's not shut off, if it senses an alarm, it will trigger that alarm. Now, I said earlier that it does more than one thing. We're just talking about water here, but it's also a freeze alarm, and it also can be a humidity sensor as well. So it can detect a freeze condition or a high temperature condition also. Works on both sides of the spectrum. So you can preset it. It's preset at a temperature, but you can change it. You can optimize it for whatever your needs are. So if you want an alarm at 40 degrees, you can set your alarm at 40 degrees. You want a high temperature alarm at 90 or 85, you can do that as well. Humidity. You put it in the basement and your basement gets really humid, it will trigger the alarm when it reaches the set point that you've determined so that you can do something about it. Maybe you need to install a whole house Resideo Honeywell home dehumidifier to resolve a high humidity issue. So this does three things. Senses water, it senses temperature, both on the high and low side. It senses humidity, also both on the high and low side. Sends you an instant alarm so that you can react while you still have time to do something about things. And it works on Wi-Fi. The 3 batteries that you put in there, they last approximately 3 years or so, depending on how many alarms it actually triggers. Hopefully none, but it's a nice thing to know that you have someone looking out for you when you're not home.
And staying on controls, we do have our thermostats. So these are our non-connected thermostats I like to highlight. Top left there, you have the E1 Pro. This is a newer product for Resideo Honeywell Home. You can see the part numbers, the TH1110E1000. So that is a 1 heat, 1 cool. It's non-programmable. We can power it off of batteries, hardwired from the equipment, or both. And it's got a really large display screen. The real nice thing here about this thermostat, from afar, you could see the set point, or I'm sorry, the room temp. And when you adjust the set point, it takes over that same numbers momentarily and then goes back to the room temp. So you can see if your cooling's on or heating's on, and selectable switches at the bottom for mode as well as fan mode. Moving down, we have 2 new T3 Pro thermostats. So it's a 1 heat, 1 cool, as well as a 2 heat, 1 cool for heat pump applications. Again, it's non-programmable. We do have a low temperature setting for heat. So if you get below 32 degrees, we could set it down there for garage applications. Again, same power connections, whether battery or hardwired or both. If we do have it hardwired, we can have a continuous backlight. It's adjustable range stops. So maybe you're renting a facility out and you want to put in a high and low setting for heating and cooling so that they don't go out of that range. You can put that in. And then it works on our universal wall plate mounting system, which is great for those of you that installed a T-Series thermostat before. You use the same wall plate. So if you install this and then later down the road, they want a Wi-Fi stat or maybe they want to switch to programmable, the wall plate's already on the wall. You could pop off the T3 and upgrade. Then we have the T4, which is a 1 heat, 1 cool and a 2 heat, 1 cool for your heat pumps. It is a non-programmable, or you could switch it and make it a programmable thermostat. A little bit more features with the filter change reminders. It's simple push button functionality. Again, same thing as far as hooking up for power. And then lastly, on the non-connected thermostats we like to highlight is we do have for the Focus Pro 5000s and 6000s. These are thermostats that have been around for a long time. They're a staple for us, and they're very simple to install and use. The 5000s will be non-programmable, whereas the 6000s are programmable. Again, we have adjustable range stops, battery powered or hardwired. Large display with clear backlit digital readout. And there are RedLink wireless models, which will have an R in the part number before the last 4 digits. So keep that in mind. But these are the 6 products of the 5000, 6000 that are out today. Moving on, we also have the connected versions of thermostats I'd like to highlight. The top one there is a D6 Pro. So that D stands for ductless. So if you're installing ductless units, we have a device that's compatible with more than 100 different models of heads. So whether you're working on different manufacturers' heads, you just program this device with 6 setup questions. 2 of those questions are what make and what series number, and it's talking infrared to that ductless head. It is Wi-Fi capable, so it's a simple interface. They can adjust the set point and mode from either the D6 device itself or through the app. The other thing that another connected device, speaking of apps, we have the T6 Pro Smart, 2 versions of that. We have a 3 heat, 2 cool, which can do dual fuel. And we also have a 2 heat, 2 cool for conventional systems. Again, it's a T-Series unit, so it'll utilize that UWP, the universal wall plate. And it's available with optional ventilation control for new construction. And that's going to be for the 3 heat, 2 cool model. Moving up, we've got the T10. This is one of our newer thermostats. Really excited about this device. You can see it's a large touch screen digital display, and it comes with a RedLink room sensor. So if you've ever had a home with a hot or cold spot within the house, no problem. We can put this room sensor, it's wireless, up in that area, and we can actually add up to 20 of these room sensors, but it comes with one in the box. And you can actually program the house to control the heating and air conditioning to different points of control within the home. What I mean by that, so let's say during the day, the thermostat's on the first floor, we are going to run the schedule to control that at the thermostat. And then at night, we could start looking at the sensor, which might be in the master bedroom. We either average the two or just have that remote sensor take over as the control point. And it's also got a optional IAQ control, so I can hook up a humidifier, dehumidifier, or ventilator right to this T10. Again, it works on the universal wall plate. And then we also have a Vision Pro 8000 RedLink with gateway. Now, this is a device that, similar to what Vinny talked about in the Y8610U, this is a kit, so it does come with multiple parts in the kit. And what it comes with is a thermostat, which is our RedLink 8000, a wireless outdoor module, as well as a wireless indoor module. So you could pull from it as need be, but if you put this on your truck, there's not one job you cannot do, in a residential application or maybe even light commercial, as long as it's not a proprietary communicating system, that this can't get you out of a jam. So if I have a broken wire from my thermostat to my air handler, or maybe my broken wire from my air handler to my outdoor unit, we have modules for that. And if you look at how long it'll take you to pull new wire, or maybe it's not accessible, this kit will get you out of that jam.
So combining everything together straight into your truck. So we looked at a bunch of different products, and in this slide and the next slide, we looked at thermal solutions products, combustion products. We looked at potable and hydronics products. And then if you go to the next slide, Sean. We also looked at potable, and by having these products either on your truck, and if not on your truck, in your stockroom, but obviously better in your truck, because depending on what you come across, if you can do the job without having to stop and go find the part, or go research the part and just put something in that's a universal solution, it's going to make you more profitable, the customer happy that you had to you could solve his problem without having to come back. So universal parts, that's the way to make money.
And speaking about being efficient, we do have a parts finder. So this is a new device. It's a tool that we came out with in the past couple of years. It's a website that you can access and make it look like an app as well. What it does, it provides quick access to our complete catalog of archived, active, and competitive replacements. So detailed results, if you put in the part number of what you're working on, you need to replace, it will provide you with the compatible replacement, and will also provide overview, specs, and resources. This is a software that's compatible with iOS, Android, as well as PCs. One-tap access from the field or office. You can share the results with coworker, whatnot, just by via email. But the key highlight here, we have an offline mode for overview and specs. So you don't have to have internet capability at the time when you're looking at that. And you're always current. So we're always adding to this, trying to expand it. So we do get refreshes, but great tool to have at your disposal. When you look at this, that's a S8610U, so we prop that in. There's the success. There's a match, and there's all your product specifications and resources. And to gain access to this awesome tool, if you have an Apple device, the instructions are up top, and Android device, instructions are below. But main thing is, start at step one, which is go to partsfinder.resideo.com. That's the parts finder right there. If you want to make it look like an app, you click share, and you can add it to your home screen. And now it looks like an app. It'll have the Resideo logo, and you can either go to the website still or just click on that app icon and start searching for parts. Full range of HVAC products. So we've talked about all these today, and they range between hydronics, thermostats, potable, combustion, indoor air quality, as well as zoning. On the IAQ and the zoning, there's products in those categories, so you can look at stocking on the truck too, whether it be replacement humidifier pads or maybe hydronic zone boards. But there's plenty of universal parts that will get you out of a jam, fix the customer's issue, and get you on to the next call and be efficient and profitable.
Thanks so much, Sean and Vinny, for walking us through this product overview today. If you'd like more information on any of the products that we covered during our session, please be sure to visit resideo.com/pro for that additional information. We're going to transition in the time that we have remaining to answering some common questions about the products that both Vinny and Sean covered in today's session. As a reminder, if you do have any questions on anything that was reviewed today, please take a few moments and enter that information into that Q&A feature in your Zoom controls. If we run out of time to answer your questions live today, we will make sure to get that information to your Resideo sales rep so that they can follow up with you as well. So I'm going to turn this back over to Sean and Vinny to close us out.
All right, so Sean, let's go through this quickly. We don't have a lot of time, but there's a lot of good information here. So how do I know which parts my universal products will replace? And then the second part is, are there any tools I can utilize on my smartphone if I don't have the product in hand?
So that's a great question. Keep in mind, universal products, they'll have that U emblem on them, and they'll have a good cross-reference on the outside of the box. So you don't have to go digging within the box to find that. We also just talked about the parts finder tool. So please go to that website, download set it to your home screen, get it on your mobile device, share it with all your colleagues. It's a great tool for knowing what products will replace what you're working on. Vinny, here's a question for you regarding our Vision Pro 8000 with RedLink. Do I need to all the products in that box, or can I pull from it as need be?
So I think we're referring to the YERM 5220 kit, which has the Vision Pro 8000 and 2 modules. The cool thing about that kit, and that's a great kit to have on your truck. If you have that kit on your truck, I don't think that there's a thermostat installation issue that you can come across, as long as it's a low voltage installation, that you can't solve. Whether you can do with just a thermostat, or you need one of the modules or both of the modules, yeah, that's great, because you can pull what you need, and then the parts that you've pulled, just like with the Y8610U kit, you would just go to your wholesaler and then replace those parts back in your box for your next job. All right, so next question is, how do universal parts apply to equipment under warranty?
Excellent question. There's plenty of contractors not only servicing items, but they're installing new furnaces and air conditioners. So service technicians, they're servicing existing equipment as well as maybe a warranty call on their own equipment. What I suggest on that is, you're on call, or maybe you're running around doing 4 or 5, maybe 6 calls a day. If you come across a warranty call, maybe it's got a bad blower board. Still have our S9200U on the truck. If it's compatible, you can get them up and running, put that board in temporarily until you get the like-for-like replacement. So you're leaving the customer happy while you're getting the like-for-like. So keep that in mind. And it's also great for the on-call technician, middle of the night, maybe middle of the weekend. So that was a great question. And here's another one for you, Vinny. What is a typical warranty for universal products, and how does Resideo honor warranties?
All right, so the typical warranty on a universal product, well, the warranties range from 1 year all the way up to 5 years. A lot of the universal products do have a 5-year warranty. Some of them have a 3-year warranty. Some of them have a 1 year, but the majority, I think, have a 5-year warranty. The cool thing about Resideo warranties is the warranty is honored from the date of installation, not the date that you put it on your truck. So you may have a part that you put on your truck for 2-3 months and don't have an ability and the option, the availability to use that part right away, but you want it on your truck just in case that midnight call that comes through, and then there you have the part that you need. So the warranty starts from date of installation, and you get your full either 1, 3, or 5-year warranty from that point. So Sean, how many water leak or freeze detectors can be installed in a house?
That's a good question, because when we first came out with that, Vinny, that was a single pack, and that's all we offered. And then we started realizing When homeowners want one in their house, they want multiple, 3 to 4, maybe even more. So we then took that information, came out with a 4-pack, and they can go in homes as many as their Wi-Fi router can handle. So I personally have 4 in the house, and there's plenty of other applications I could have one, but water heater, sump pump, maybe attic condensate pan if I have an air conditioner in the attic, washer machine, under sinks is great. So it's really as many as their Wi-Fi router can handle. And here's one for you, Vinny. Why is there no 3-prong plug in the S8610U?
All right, so in previous versions of the S8610U ignition control module, there was a 3-prong plug there that you used to take your trusty Envirocom tester, plug it in there, and you could read an error code right on the little device. The reason that's no longer there is because we took the error codes and we integrated them right into the control via the LEDs, and we no longer have to use that tester, which I don't even think they make anymore. But now the diagnostics is built in without having to use an external device to figure out what the issue is with your system. So lastly, do the circulator pumps come with a check valve? I think we talked about that, but why don't you reiterate a little?
Yes, we did. So the circulator pumps do come with a check valve within the box. It is up to the installer if he wants to put that in or not. Maybe he's got an external flow check, or maybe he doesn't want to install it. However, there are instructions in the box of how to install it, and also the flow rating, the pump curve with the flow check installed, as well as without the flow check installed. So keep that in mind, and the pump is truly universal, but it is optional whether you want to install it or not.
I think we're going to have to record the Q&A for a later date.
I think we can take just one question. If you want to take a look at what we've received here, we've just got a couple of questions there. And
so one question came in about fall service kits. Do we make fall service kits that are standard for heating season? I'm going to take that one, Sean. We don't have a full service kit that would have all the parts in one box, because we talked about a lot of different products. We talked about combustion products. We talked about plumbing products. We talked about potable and hydronic. We talked about oil products. Not everyone has the same type of business in the same type of geographical area. So to make a kit like that would be a little more difficult. But I guess you can make your own kit on the truck and possibly just replenish as need be. You're going to get to find which parts you seem to use more often. And some of the more common ones, like the Y8610U ignition kit, that's kind of a kit in itself. And so is the 8000 with the modules. That's also a little kit in itself as well. So really depends on your geography what would be considered a service kit. So it'd be very difficult to us to make actual service kits according to, what everyone would need.
yeah, great answer, Vinny. And I would also suggest too reaching out to your Resideo sales rep, and they can help you build out what would be the best products to stock on your trucks for your employees. With that, we're going to wrap up our session today. Please be sure to join us for our next Resideo customer webinar on Tuesday, September 15th at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. We're going to discuss universal parts strategy and continue our discussion on combustion products. And this will be a great discussion as we prepare for heating season. Please be sure to share the details of that training with your teammates or your coworkers, and join us on Tuesday, September 15th. If you'd like to find information on our upcoming series of webinars in the month of September, please visit resideo.com/webinars and navigate to the HVAC and/or plumbing tabs for more information on those upcoming sessions. And then one final reminder to our contractors who maybe did not include your NATE ID on your registration form and you'd like to receive credit for today's session, please send your first name, last name, and your NATE ID in an email to homes.university@resideo.com within 1 week of today's live webinar, and we will submit that information to NATE on your behalf. And then two final things to note as we end today. You are going to be provided a link to a survey regarding our webinar session today. Please take a few moments to provide us with your feedback on today's session. We are looking forward to offering many sessions in the future and want to hear your feedback on today's session. And then finally, you are going to receive an email from us in a few days that includes some follow-up information on the details that both Vinny and Sean reviewed with us today, as well as a link to the website for more information on our future webinars as well. And again, want to thank you all for joining us on today's Resideo webinar session, discussing how to optimize your truck stock for fall. So please join us on Tuesday, September 15th at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time for our next training session on Universal Part Strategy. Have a great day, everyone.